Salamat po. Kindly sit down. Thank you for the courtesy. I count the pages vis-a-vis with the important or the insignificant event. This definitely is a very significant event for your all. I mean, it is a representative crowd of all the economic people of the Philippines. Tatlong pages lang eh. Nakakahiya naman sa inyo. And, with such topic as economy, there ought to be more, and one from the heart sa inyong utusan, a worker of government. I do not call yung mga kasama ko sa gobyerno as officials. I just say that we are all workers of government. And I do not use the word Malacanang. I just use the office of the President. Hindi naman talaga palasyo yan eh. Not in the sense of the word. Kahoy lang yan at luma na. Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez and other members of the Cabinet, Mr. George Barcelon, President, Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, PCCI, Board of Directors, Officers, and Local Chambers, mga kasama ko sa gobyerno, mga kababayan. I will just read a portion of the speech because actually I said in about 2 minutes we will go home. I assume that you have had dinner yet, but I have so many things to say to you tonight. One is that when I was campaigning for the presidency, and even during the presidential debates, I was the first to finish. We were only given a minute and a half, and I knew that it was sorely lacking of this space for which we are about to talk about the country. So I reduced it to a bullet form, and I said, if elected president, one is I will do away with graft and corruption in government. Second is that our country is being sieged by, flooded with drugs. And third is that I would try to talk to the enemies of the state, if I can, and strike a deal with the so many fronts. And then I would be referring to the Communist Party of the Philippines and the rebellion that they have so far almost 50 years in the making. And I thought that it would be time to stop it, or we fight for another 50 years. Second is the drug problem. During the time of President Arroyo, General Santiago, who headed the PDEA, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, came up with a figure of 3 million. And when I became president, you saw the hundreds of thousands surrendering every day to the authorities. And we counted, in my term, for the first year, something like 1,300,000. It was a very serious problem, and a lot of, you should know, crimes are committed on the streets every day in the name of drugs, the need for a fix. And the problem is, as I have been telling you, the market of shabu is not the Filipino people. It is the poor Filipino people. The rich ones, they don't bother or tinker with shabu, because shabu over time shrinks the brain of a person. I was one of the very first local government employee who constructed the first rehab in Mindanao, and it was about 30 years ago. But to my sorrow, the realization that about this slide, almost in a rate of 1 to 10, only 2 succeeds. And that would be an exception, really. 8 would definitely go back. Because unlike poppy, it's an organic thing, and the Americans are busy with cocaine and heroin. It causes, but over a longer period. Unlike shabu, in 3 to 6 months of continuous use, it shrinks the brain of a person. And that's why I have so many killings. The latest one was a husband who decapitated his wife and shouted, "Pinatay ko na si Duterte. I have killed Duterte." And the other one was really actually a rape case. It's but you know, in deference to, not to anybody, but to you, I only answer to the Filipino people, nobody else. So I said that if it is that sad, by the human rights articulating the death of everybody, I said, well, I ordered the armed forces and the military to withdraw, including the police, and I gave the power solely to one agency, the Philippine Enforcement Drug Agency. Kayo lang, and that has been a very long time ago. I let go of I said, I will not supervise anything there. You do your job, because the law mandates that you are the lead agency. I don't know if they will succeed, because in the previous months I utilized everybody, and yet we still have the problem. I am saying this because when I became mayor of Davao City, I aired my sentiment to the people that there can be no peace in this city until there is law and order. And I told the businessmen there, and some of you are here, and I told you, I will take care to attain peace, take care of the economy. And I was referring that to Chito Ayala, while he was still alive in a gathering in his house. That is my article of faith, that unless we are really freed of the so many crimes and so many movements, rebellions, the Philippines would always be in a struggle. I have to deal with the Communist Party of the Philippines. It was the New People's Army. They are armed, and they are ambushing, and you read it in the newspapers every day, that aside from the Marawi siege, I'm losing about almost every 10 to 15, either military or policemen today. During the campaign against drug, I lost about 156 soldiers and about 92 policemen. Why? Because in Mindanao, if you want to raid a certain shabu factory, the police cannot do it alone, because they would be facing bazooka or M60. You have to bring in the military. And that is what happened in Marawi. Time and again, I told you, the Filipino people, the rebellion, the ISIS is coming in, and it is funded by shabu. So the last time you saw the tunnels around the building, around everywhere, there were tunnels in buildings. those where they kept the merchandise. Just before the onslaught, because there was a siege, they were able to save the drugs. I don't know where they are now. But as I've been telling you, it was fueling the ISIS sentiment. The siege of Marawi was purely ISIS. And that was why I had to declare martial law. And I said, we have to finish this or we go kaput. Then I would give you the same maybe advice that as the military has been mouthing it and the police several times, that be careful of retaliation. We know and I know that it's coming, where I really do not know. But somehow they would do it in places where the dominant tribes. I have nothing against the Moro. I have nothing against the revolutionaries in this house. I do not hate them, but I mean, I do not want to tinker with religion because it never has been, it is not now. But with the coming of the ISIS, they're using it as a vehicle when actually it was a matter or issue of territory. Remember, I would like to have to repeat this because it's still the headlines of the day. And once in a while, I get investigated from just anywhere. NGOs of other countries going here and talking to the Reds, the Communists, and the opposite party. The liberals who cannot accept defeat, and that is the problem. So, I have to answer the charges because the people would be interested. Now, I said before, there are millions already afflicted. Now, it was during my time where there was an interdiction and a lot of people died along the way. Faults, yes, plenty. We have it. But it is not a policy of government to declare war against its own people. But I have to save my country. When I was elected as mayor, and you know from Davao, there are some military men here who used to be with the Air Force and working in Davao. They are now successful businessmen. They have retired, and I said, we were in a very topsy-turvy thing. Davao was a lawless province, and the art of assassination by the sparrows, they called the assassination squad sparrows. They used to kill 2-3 policemen a day in my province, in my city. I was then a prosecutor. But because I was only a prosecutor and my home ground was the court and the investigation. And in many cases, witnesses disappeared, kidnapped, or intimidated. And I would just, sadly, I would just say to the judge, people of the Philippines versus Juan de la Cruz. And the judge would say, prosecutor ready? And my usual response was that, no, Your Honor, because my witnesses were not notified or are dead. So many crimes committed under the guise of in the altar of drugs. And when I became mayor, I said, I am not a policeman. I am not a soldier. I am a mayor, and I'm trying to build